What is about? There's something evolving. Whatever may come, the world keeps revolving. They say the next big thing is here, that the revolution's near. But to me it seems quite clear that it's all just a little bit of history repeating.
Welcome, friends, to Episode 3, False Flag Boycott, the Hegelian Dialectic Resistance Pact. False Flag Boycott version 1.0. If there is any form of a terrorist attack not openly and officially claimed by any foreign government, we the people will not support any reactions of aggressions or war against anyone, foreign or domestic. Instead, we support the forming of a commission to investigate the goals of the alleged terrorists in an honest effort to understand the root causes of which violence is a symptom, and analyze potential responses with legislative and diplomatic concessions. In even the very worst case, any violence in reaction must be respectively equal or lesser than the violence inflicted upon us. Now, this means that in the event of any crises, we the people will be looking very critically at any voices looking to escalate violence. We will be looking at the parties with the most to gain in wealth, power, or position. We will be looking at documented financial transactions proving foreknowledge of any such events. We will be looking for cover-up commissions which ignore evidence or allow it to be destroyed. We recognize that for the past century, the United States of America is in fact the largest exporter of terrorism in the world. For this reason, we the people will also be listening to any valid concerns and demands of such terrorists willing to give their lives trying to tell us their message. We the people support reductions to our Anglo-American imperialist actions and bases around the world. We think these types of changes in our reactions will reduce the number of terrorists and feed them less hate to live off of. First, we must stop impeding the freedom and self-determination of other nations if we are to expect it in return. For more details on this, see the golden rule. This change in paradigm and policy is not seen as as a concession, but as a truly logical step in the right direction for the best of all parties. Let me be clear. I do not in any way condone any form of violence. And I know that we the people around the world will only win through non-violent methods. I would never, never, never commit suicide, as there is much beauty in this world, even though it's bittersweet and f***ed up. You can do so much more in life than death. Now, this is just my humble opinion, but why are we so quick to dismiss the wishes, goals, and demands of alleged terrorists? When absorbing information at our preferred flicker rate, we very easily buy into the ideas of our favorite talking heads. But how many of those heads believe so strongly in what they're saying and doing that they would die for that cause? How many have root goals of money, fame, and or power? If, as a society, we have driven anyone to feel that their only option is to turn to violence or even self-sacrifice, then is it not our duty to take that serious look in the mirror and figure out how to inch our country towards growing up instead of punching back in a blind rage every time? Oh yeah, and these people attack us because they hate our freedom, and they deal with their jealousy. They attack us instead of freeing themselves. Oh wait, we are actually the ones oppressing them in their home, whether there is a physical or military occupation or not. But aside from the intent, views, and demands of terrorists, we must also have more critical reactions to crises themselves. This is because of the thoroughly documented history of the agility of some governments to stage acts of terrorism and frame the enemies of their choice, and the massive expansion of government secrecy ever since the Manhattan Project and the creation of the Central Intelligence Agency, the CIA, has only increased this. We, the people, have no oversight to shed light on significant portions of our own government, which do significant damage to our world. And we claim to be a free democracy. In some well-planned crimes, a criminal plants evidence to throw the cops onto the wrong trail, or even to actively set up and blame someone else. When the crime is an act of terrorism, this form of framing someone is called a false flag attack. And we know this isn't just a thing of history. In October of 2008, WikiLeaks released a U.S. Special Forces counterinsurgency manual, which had been U.S. Army policy since 1994 and teaches about the staging of false flag attacks for these same purposes of psychological warfare in the countries we are occupying. Now, if you're new to the InfoWars, Infowars.com, you might not have heard the term false flag. You might not have also heard the term Hegelian dialectic. It makes a bit of a cumbersome title for my pack, but this phrase could use a serious Colbert bump in the mass consciousness. Wikipedia describes the Hegelian dialectic as usually presented in a threefold manner, comprising three dialectical stages of development: a thesis giving rise to its reaction, an antithesis which contradicts and negates the thesis, and the tension between the two being resolved by means of a synthesis. The strategic method of thesis, antithesis, synthesis is also known as order out of chaos by Paul Joseph Watson, or problem, reaction, solution. One of the most classic examples is Adolf Hitler's use of this tool just 4 weeks after becoming Chancellor of Germany. Problem: there was an arson attack on the Reichstag building, the home of the German parliament, in Berlin on February 27, 1933. Reaction: Wikipedia explains that the fire was used as evidence by the Nazis that the communists were beginning a plot against the government. Solution: this was used to justify and pressure widespread suspension of civil liberties, mass arrests, and the Nazis took majority power, only consolidating from there on out. Problem, reaction, solution. Hello, World War II. Most of us cannot fathom attacking people of our own country, or anyone for that matter. But we can see examples of many leaders, past and present, near and far, who clearly did not share this conscience. But how many of those leaders, considered horrific in retrospect, had the support of significant portions of their populations leading right up until the atrocities start, and even beyond? We must be able to recognize that tyrants rarely come out of nowhere, and even democracies can allow for a slow and consensual takeover by one faction, which is just as comprehensive. Luckily, such a takeover is also a house of cards, falling if we can only focus our vision on it enough to call out the myths in the foundation. America has long passed the tyrant standard, effectively finding ways to kill millions around the world in most decades of the past century. With the most advanced forms of propaganda known to history, much of the population need not worry about our exported atrocities, vigilant for better footing in the rat race while skyscrapers play empire builder. So I vote for voluntarily giving up our empire to return to being a regular country, which obeys the rules of war and human decency, the golden rule, before everything is taken from us in retaliation. Please understand, I have immense gratitude and respect for all the troops in harm's way on all sides. They are fathers, mothers, brothers, sisters, theoretically defending their respective theoretical freedom. My own pops served in the Navy during the Vietnam War, and I'm really glad it did help him overcome some of his fears, like trying pizza for the first time as a picky young eater. But it did significantly form him and made him the man he is. We all know how painfully pointless and costly that whole war was, looking back at the fog of war. But it was not pointless just because of the idiotic counterinsurgency strategy. It was also pointless because the Gulf of Tonkin incident was not a legitimate reason to initiate a war in the first place. The problem for which a previously intended reaction and solution could be provided. Just recently in 2008, the National Security Agency was forced to release documents after Stephen Aftergood, director of the Federation of American Scientists,